Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mike Armstrong podcast show. And this afternoon, we're joined by Toni Clarkstone from, sales consultant from the Sales Circle, based in Solihull in Birmingham. How are you doing today, Toni? You okay?
I'm great, Mike. How are you?
Yes, I'm awesome. I'm always awesome these days because I'm living my best life. So.
Fantastic. That's exactly where we all want to be, living our best life. Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's
definitely. And
wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm looking forward to it as well because I've been in sales all my life and I love a good old chat about sales and marketing and all that sort of thing. And most of my friends are salespeople as well. So I've never met a salesperson yet I can't get on with, you know. Oh, you there? Oh, yeah, sorry. I think you froze for a couple of seconds then.
Yeah, the signal went a little bit. We've been experiencing a lot of storms. I don't know if you've been experiencing it too, but it's really knocked everything out.
Yeah, more last week that was for us. Wednesday, I think, in a couple of days. There was Wednesday. One day I had a nightmare with my Wi-Fi. Just kept kicking me out when I was on an online Introbiz event.
Yeah. Well, I had the same thing that night. When I was on the Introbiz event, and we had another thunderstorm last night as well. So it's been a bit of a tricky situation. So hopefully it doesn't go too many times today. But no, I'm really excited about this, and it's fantastic to talk to a fellow sales, consultant, entrepreneur like yourself. Because we get to bounce ideas off each other, and also the audience themselves can learn some really good hints and tips from you and from myself. And I'm really excited. Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. So obviously, I'm one of Introviz's longest standing members, and you're fairly new to the network as well. So I'd like to welcome you to the family, etc. And obviously, we haven't really had a chance to talk since you've been online. You've been joining, you've joined Introviz, say, the last few weeks, but obviously this is our first chance to chat. So that's why it'll be a good chat, I'm sure. I love getting to know people and about them and what they've done in the past, etc. The first place I usually like to start, though, on my podcast, because I started it in lockdown, and it's been such a big thing for a lot of people, especially those that have pivoted and done some changes, etc. So I'd like to know sort of how the lockdown has been for you, particularly, yourself and your business, and have you done any particular pivoting during this time, during the lockdown period?
Yeah, well, the lockdown period has been actually quite positive for myself. What people don't tend to know about me is that last year I was diagnosed with cancer. And as a result of the cancer, I had to undergo 3 operations. And during the lockdown period, I had to go through my 3rd operation, which was only actually 9.5 weeks ago. So as you can appreciate, during the lockdown period, it was a great time for me to recover and really get myself into a great place, really review my business ideas, what I wanted to achieve, get my mindset right. Because I've got to say, having cancer was probably one of the best things that happened to me, and people are going to find that really odd, but it gave me such a kick up the arse. It really did. I have been coaching and mentoring people over the last 10 years, as well as working for an employer. So it was very much trying to juggle 2 heads, if you like, over the last 10 years. And when I sort of slipped downhill and became ill, and obviously, found out that I'd got cancer and that I was going to require all this treatment and everything, it really took me to quite a dark place. And that dark place really then manifested into a dream and got me to really think about, okay, what do I really want from my life? What is it that inspires me? What is it that I want to leave as a legacy for my children? And that dark place was simply because I hadn't got to that state where I felt like I'd achieved all those things. So it wasn't my time to go. And I knew that deep down. And over the lockdown period, I then decided to start strategizing. Okay, how am I going to achieve all these things that I've set out for myself? What is it that I want to do? And the Sales Circle was actually born from that. So about a week after my surgery, so I was in hospital for 5 days because they kicked us out pretty much straight away simply because of COVID. And on the 7th day, I met Tracy from Intrabiz, and we had an online discussion, pretty much, similar conversation to this. And she was amazing. She put me in touch with all the right people, and she talked to me about, you've got so much to offer. Let's just go out into the world and offer it. Now, over the last 9.5 weeks, obviously I've done a lot of strategizing over the COVID period, but the last 9.5 weeks, well, since meeting Tracy, really, so you're talking 8.5 weeks, it has really been such an exciting time for me because people are really buying me. They're buying my story. They're buying what I'm about. And the coaching clients I've had from 10 years back are coming forward and saying, actually, do you know what? She did such a fantastic job for my business. I want you back. Come on, let me see what you can do. So now I've been able to focus completely full time on the Sales Circle. And that's really what COVID and cancer has done for me.
Yeah. So sounds like you had a real transformational period, which I have as well. So I myself, I decided quite a while ago I was going to become a global speaker, and the lockdown allowed me to write a book, which was part of my journey to becoming a global speaker. Because you've got to leverage something to get yourself into the stage. Yeah. And for me, I wanted to leverage a best-selling book. And I've written the book. I haven't published it yet, but I'm building the connections and the audience so that when I publish the book will be a bestseller, so that then I can leverage that to become a speaker. And it's all part of a plan. It's all part of a strategy, etc. Yeah. And so I've written the book. I don't know if I can publish it or not. I'm procrastinating on it because it features my ex-wife, and I haven't had the chance to speak with her. It's a warts and all book. And my big step in my life, which made me transform quite a bit, was a divorce about 8-9 years ago. And so it's the aftermath of that, because until my divorce 8-9 years ago, my whole life was like that, in a sort of positive, upward, fast-paced, high-building, momentous trajectory, really. And it takes something big sometimes in your life for you to actually then pivot or set course to the right thing that you want, because you have that time to introspect and think about what it is you do want out of life, etc. Sometimes a bit like a new beginning. It's a new rebirth, and you want to be, okay, what do I want this rebirth to look like? But obviously politically it's a bit sensitive what I've written about, because there's some issues in the background which I wrote a warts and all book, and then things have changed, and now I'm like, oh well, the viewpoint has changed and the perspective has changed, but do I keep it as I wrote it, or do I change it to the perspective of now? And that's what I'm sort of caught in my head over. Yeah. So I may just write another book for the time being, because I've actually come up with 2 formulas during the lockdown as well. One is a happiness formula, one's a success formula. So I'm going to write a lot of books on this subject, and I'm going to, to become a speaker. I want to be like a Brian Tracy or a Jim Rohn or a Dr. John DeMartini. I want to speak around the world and write lots of books. So at some point, I might just write that book off, wait until it can politically come out at some point, and write another book for now. But I've written some courses and some seminars and all of that.
Yeah.
And so you're on the same journey now. You're on this journey of building your business now. I've been self-employed for 8 years. I didn't do what you did, and sort of did a bit on the side as well as my business. I sort of more or less just Well, saying that, I did do a joint business with my wife on the side for a while, but my business, I just did it. I jumped from one to the other after that time. I think yours
Yeah.
is the more sensible way, if you like. Building up a bit of a portfolio and a bit of a foundation first is good. Um, but yeah, for me, I just jumped and that was it. I jumped during a recession and after a divorce and with 3 kids, and you know, I probably should have put a bit more foundation in place.
No, but everybody's circumstances is different, and I think for me personally, part of it was actually out of fear. The reason why I stuck with a sales job and working with organisations was partly out of fear, because to me it was okay, what happens when you're sick? You don't get an income, and because I knew that I knew for the last 6 years that there was something not right. I knew deep down, and I know that probably sounds a bit strange to anybody that's had cancer, but I knew that there was something not quite right. I did not feel right. And I had this fear of, okay, what if something happens? And that was partly the reason why I stuck with having a job. And now, when you look back now, actually, it was probably one of the best decisions that I actually made, because I've been able to build a profile. I've got a portfolio of clients that have had a fantastic experience with me, and I have still had a regular income coming in. So when those periods of quiet that we all experience, I still had that safety net. And obviously now I'm letting the safety net go, if you like, and saying, right, I'm here, this is it, full throttle. But it was out of fear. And I think when I was told that actually, I was actually right and there was something wrong, it was a sense of relief. It was a sense of knowing that actually I was right. And that, one of the big things that happened was when they sat me down with the Macmillan nurse, and after I'd had the diagnosis, they took me into this really lovely room with flowers and sofas. And to be honest, I wish they'd just put me in a cupboard, because it made it worse. It made it like it was, I was just about to die, and this was the bereavement room. It wasn't like a nice experience at all for me personally. But they took us into this room, and my husband's sitting there. And my husband asked the question that I could not ask. And that question was, what would have happened if you hadn't have found it? And the nurse replied, she would have been dead in about 5 years, depending on how it spread. And that really hit me. It really hit me hard. And I thought, I've been walking around and I've been a ticking time bomb this whole frigging time. And now that I have these, the last operation, I had to have 2 tumours removed from my pelvis. And, I know I look fine now. It's 9 weeks ago, but God, I looked rough back then, I'm telling you now. But, when I had that relief of knowing that actually I was cancer free, it gave me such a kick, and it made me realise actually I'm ready. But I knew I was ready last year and the year before, but it was just having something that was really intense to really give me that strength to go.
It's emotion that creates motion.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. You've got it in one. That is exactly what it is, and it's super powerful, so powerful. And when something happens to you, like divorce, like divorce, when you go through a divorce, I've been there. I've been divorced, and I'm remarried now. But when you go through a divorce, that again is a real life-changing experience. It's something that magically really affects you. And there's so many things, when people go through physical or mental abuse, and there's so many wonderful people that just come out of the other end. Like, I'm part of a book that's actually coming out on the 19th of November. it's Inspirational Women of the World, and it's 19. I'm one of not 20 women that have written about adversity and how adversity completely changes your life, and it is super powerful. So, you know, have you gone there, Mike?
Yeah, no, sorry, bear me 2 seconds. I had somebody knock my door. I'm just going to put this on pause for 2 seconds, okay? Sorry about this. Sorry about that. Somebody at the door, but I'm back. Carry on, Toni.
No, what I was saying before you had to go and answer the door is, yeah, I'm part of a book that's coming out on the 19th of November. And
yeah, the iWow one, yeah.
The iWow one, Inspirational Women of the World. And honestly, it is such an amazing movement. Everybody should be looking at this. And I'm one of 20 women that have been selected to read, you know, to write this book. And it's about adversity. It's about coming through the other side and how, you know, it's changed our world. It's changed our life. And we've all gone through it. And I think that is the most amazing part of the book. You know, you can really, when you look at the women's chapters, you get a sense of being in the situation. You know, you can actually see yourself experiencing the feelings of each one of us. And I'm so excited about the iWow book coming out 19th of November. And once the iWow book has gone through, I think I will, Mike. I think I'm going to write a book. And I'm going to write a book about selling, because my style of selling is very different to most styles of selling. You know, I am a very, as you can probably see from my background, very much a girly girl. And I have a very soft approach when it comes to selling. And I sell through stories. That is my approach. I sell through stories. I sell through the feelings and thoughts of what stories can evolve in a person. They can inspire a person. So that's where I think I'm going to go after the iWow book. Really give some insight into, you know, my story and how it's helped me grow as a person. Yeah. And I think that you know, that's the important part. And exactly with your book, you know, you mentioned about your book. You know, I think you should publish it. I know it's warts and all, but you know, I think you should. I'm sure it will be a fantastic read. You know,
I definitely will publish it. It's just a case of the diplomacy around how and when. That's all. But I definitely will publish. I haven't written it not to publish. I really want to publish it now, and I may get to the point where the time I'm just like, oh, you know, forget about the consequences, just publish it. Because it's actually an inspirational story, and a big part of my divorce and me having to overcome what I had to overcome was a knock-on effect of the global recession the last time round, the credit crunch. And you know, that I had a knock-on effect. There was some financial issues and a knock-on effect, divorce, all that sort of thing. And I had to basically start my life from scratch again at like 33 or whatever. I was worse off at 33 than I was at 18. You know what I mean? But I had to rebuild again, and I've managed to do it, and I've, you know, done some interesting things along the way. And so I wanted to write the book. I wrote it in lockdown because I wanted to write the book as inspiration for other people who are going to be going through what I went through 2008 and the knock-on effect of that for the next few years now. There's going to be people living my life that I was and thinking I can't get through this, and I want to inspire them that they can. I also want to teach them about how I did. So it's sort of a life story with an educational tint.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it'll be brilliant. You'll do well. You will do well. It's exciting. Hammering it down here. I don't know what the weather's like where you are.
It's actually sunny here. It's sunny here, but it was absolutely battering it down around this time yesterday. So maybe you've got it drifting over your way now.
Well, we had massive storms yesterday, and now it's just, I'm waiting for it. I reckon it's going to happen again.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I definitely got sales and marketing books in me as well. And but I come up with a formula during lockdown, which is called STREAMS. It's a success formula, and the STREAMS stands for systems, technology, relationships, efficiency, action, marketing, and sales. And it's what I believe are the 7 pillars of success. You know, if you invest heavily in those areas, you'll become more successful in life and in business generally. And and so I may well produce a book on the streams, the whole thing, the whole formula, but then I may well, pivot, do a book on each one of the 7 streams and stuff over time,
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. Yeah.
The thing is, I'm a lifelong learner. I've been learning for 30 plus years. I'm 42, 43. So actually, I was massively academic as well. So I've been learning all my life, really. And I love learning. And I'm intensely learned. And that's part of my journey and part of my overcoming my issues was I embraced the world of personal development massively. Whereas before that, I used to just embrace my own development. I'm competitive and I'm always looking for that best way of improving, of self-improvement and making those marginal gains on everything that I do. And so I've had a lifetime of that, making marginal gains. And now I've massively added, since probably 2017, I've added a massive array of intensely learning off some of the best people on the planet at the things that they do, because I want to be the best person on the planet at what I do. So I learn off the people who are already in my position, because that's what I've done my entire life. To become the best salesperson, I learned off the best salespeople. To become the best manager, I learned actually more off the bad managers. I would say I learned more off the bad managers than the good managers. I learned what not to do, which only left me what to do, which was good. Yeah. So I want to write, all of that. And I want to go in and do corporate training. I used to do corporate sales training, but now I want to go in and do corporate training, which covers those 7 pillars of success. So it doesn't just concentrate on sales or marketing, but actually covers the relationship building, the efficiency, the action, the systems, the technology, all the things to become a better, all-rounded person, and a staff member or a salesperson or a marketeer, because, sales and marketing, they don't stand alone in the pursuit of success. They're part of other traits and other skills you've got to have in order to be consistent and high achieving regularly,
No, totally agree. When it comes to learning, you shouldn't stop. You really shouldn't, because to become successful at whatever it is that you want to do in life, you have to learn from the best. And, it's important, show me any successful person and they have mirrored, they've modeled themselves on another successful person. And that's effectively what we all do in life. One of the reasons why I signed up to become part of the mentorship program for Grant Cardone was because, he is the best at selling. He is awesome. He's one of those most inspirational sales guys that's out there at the minute. So, spending the money to work with him was a complete no-brainer. For me personally, it was a no-brainer, because I see myself as, I want to be the kind of person that people bring in that will deliver success. And in order to do that, you've got to make sure that you're trained, like you say, in all the areas by the best people in those areas. One of the things that, I'm particularly very good at, and I teach a lot of, I've done a lot of work in the past, and I will be bringing this into the sales circle. In the past, I've done a lot of work with call centers. So they called me the queen of cold calling, simply because that is something I'm very good at. I am very good on the phone. And I have learned over the years how to be successful on the phone. So previously, I went into a call center and they had about 150 members of staff. I worked with them to look at, okay, what are these guys doing? Why are they in trouble? Why are they struggling with their sales? What's their script like? What are they actually saying to people on the phone? And then we worked through and strategized, okay, this is the steps we're going to take to get these guys selling correctly. These are the steps we're going to take to get the management to get the most out of their people. Yeah. And that company was doing around 700. They had 100 and just slightly under 150 members of staff, but they were still only making just under profit wise. They were still only making about 700,000. And that's quite bad, really, for the amount of people you've got working for you. And within 8 months of working with them, we'd got up to profit of 1.3 million. Now that company is doing well into like 8 million a year. But, that is all about those people actually taking the time to go, right, okay, I've got a problem here. Who's the expert that's going to help me? Who's the expert that's going to help me get the most out of my call center, my call center staff? So previously, that's what I've done. Now, the sales circle that I'm working in at the moment, I haven't approached that area as yet, but it is something that I'm looking to do because I've had such huge success. At the moment, my clients are more, what you were talking about, really, they want to have that success formula. They want to be able to approach clients and sell in a way that it's just a conversation. It's not a hard sell, it's a conversation. And a lot of the people that I've been working with have really taken this on board and started selling with stories and noticing that actually selling with stories works, and it works better than just going to someone and doing the normal sales techniques that all of us salespeople do. At the moment, that is the focus of the sales circle, because I really want to get people in the motion of selling with stories and getting some testimonials and things about the success that has taken place while using these methods that I'm currently teaching.
So it's interesting you said that, actually, because I started off in telesales. Actually, I did a bit of door-to-door sales in the summer holidays, which I then did telesales during my college, because I started just before I started college in the 6 weeks holiday, door-to-door. And then I liked it so much, I carried on doing telesales around my college. So I was working evenings and weekends, selling double glazing windows.
Yeah.
And then when I finished college, I went back door-to-door. And then I did a few different telesales jobs, etc. And I ended up starting at a tech startup business called Credit Safe. And they had just started, and they're a credit reference agency, but pretty much they were a sales company run by salespeople, and just, a quite high pressurized sales environment.
I know them well.
And they were a call center, telesales operation, and I actually excelled in that operation as well. And then I turned I become the manager of the key accounts team. We dealt with all the 10 million plus turnover businesses, and I turned that team then into more a field sales team over time, but with some tele appointment setters and with some people still selling over the phone. But we mostly developed into a field sales team, and actually we developed into an IT tech solutions based sales team. We were selling high-end solutions, which often me and my top seller, Lisa, were developing as per the market requirements, if you like. So we become a bespoke tech solution outfit, and that company, I grew my telesales team from, so I was one of the 4 founding members of Key Accounts within sort of 3 months of starting at Credit Safe. When they just started the team, they started with the top 4 telesales guys, and I was number 2 of the top 4. So I was one of the first 4 founding members. We grew that up to 7 quite quickly, and I was assistant manager for 2 years. And then I didn't think my manager was going anywhere. So I actually decided there were 7 teams in the SME section dealing with the under 10 million prospects. So I took over running one of the teams from assistant manager of key accounts. I run one of the teams on the floor, selling to the SMEs. And within 3 months, they replaced me with my old boss that had been my boss for 2 years, because they thought I'd do a better job. So that was a bit politically, delicate at the time. But I went on to run that team then, or that department, for 8 years. And I turned it from 7 people doing 300 grand to 17 people doing 5.7 million over an 8-year period, which is actually 20 times growth. So it's double what Grant Cardone talks about. And literally we turned that department from, a basic telesales operation, doing online demonstrations and selling off-the-shelf products to corporates, into the top innovative technical solution business in that sector. And after 10 years being there, so 8 years as a manager of that department, but 10 years being there, I decided enough was enough. I'll go and do my own thing, because I was one under the MD. I got promoted 9 times in 6 years. So I worked my way up from telephone executive on 15.5 grand to Premier Account Director, one under the MD on 70 grand. And literally, I got plateaued for 4 years because I was one under the MD with nowhere to go. And plateauing me is not a very good thing. You know, the reason I got promoted 9 times in 6 years is because I work hard and I want to get promoted, you know. So I plateaued for a while, and I thought, you know what? All I ever wanted to be was MD of a company or MD of my own company. So I thought, I've done 10 years at this company. I'd much rather be MD of my own company anyway. So it's time to go off and do something, you know, for yourself. Like, you know, use the 10-year apprenticeship to put into place the same sort of knowledge and application as you've learned on someone else's coin. Do it for yourself, sort of thing. Like, you know, so that's the mission that I've been on since then. And so it's funny how you mentioned call centers and that, because that's the sort of environment I come from. And telesales, actually, a lot of people I've heard in the last maybe 10 years since I've been self-employed have been saying telesales is dead, but telesales is never dead. And in fact, and in fact, because of coronavirus now, it's just come back to life again, because, you know, all the field sales people are doing telesales again. Like, you know?
I love it. Do you know, I absolutely love the phone. I know that, you know, there's loads of people out there who are absolutely terrified of the phone. And it mind boggles me, you know, and it's simply a case of fear. It's fear of rejection. And it's because they're not resilient enough to be able to handle situations. And they don't have the answers to the objections. They don't have pre-prepared answers to every objection. When you're on the phone, you know, the same objections come up time and time and time again. And what amazes me is that people don't think, hold on, there's a pattern here.
There's a theme here.
There's a theme. Let's get some writing down.
Let's prepare ourselves a little. Let's go into battle prepared and with the right plan of action.
Prepared, exactly. And then you've got amazing business owners that set up these fantastic businesses. They get their, you know, you've got phone companies, you've got, you know, claims management companies, and they set up these amazing business. But then when it comes to the people on the phone, they don't know what to do with them. No. They just think, right, okay, this worked for me, so I'll write everything down that they work for me. I'll train this to them, and then hopefully we're going to make some extra sales. And then they don't know what to do with them. And I think what's great about people like you and me is that we know how to get the best out of someone on the phone. We know the skills, the tips, the tricks to get people selling. And for me, you know, I have competitions with my guys, you know, I have competitions with them, and we'll all sit in a room, you know, and it'll be a case of, right, okay, how many appointments are we going to get today? You know, how many appointments are we going to get up on this board, and who's going to get their lunch paid for? You know, because you, as a leader, you've got to be able to inspire your people as well. So it's all very well getting people to be able to sell on the phone, but if you're not keeping them motivated and positive about being on the phone, they're not going to want to be there. You know, because it's a place where you have to be resilient, and you have to go into battle prepared. You have to be prepared. And I don't know how many, and you will probably feel this as well, how many people don't. They just think, oh, okay, I'll wing it. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to tell anyone that's listening to this now, you know, if you guess at sales, you will fail. And it's that simple. If you guess, you fail.
The problem is, it's like I started out at 16, you know, and until I was 21, 5 years of doing objection handling every day for an hour before I went to work. You know what I mean? We were drilled. And people don't understand that, you know, to become awesome at something, you need to be drilled. You need to know exactly what you're doing. You need to be professional. And so many people play at sales, they play at marketing. They wonder why they're chasing their tail and never getting anywhere. And that's because they're not drilled. You know what I mean? It's like there are football teams that aren't very good, but if the manager gets in place and drills them, they can actually hold their own against players much better than themselves, because the collective input of that drilling and of that effort and that work, it basically means that you're like a ninja. You can see the throwing dart aiming towards you, and you can stop and collect it and throw it back because you're prepared and you know what to expect. But people go into battle unprepared, they're unorganized, they got the wrong tools with them, and then they expect to win the battle, and it's just like, well, that's just not going to happen.
It's not, and it's so funny when people think that that they can wing it. You can't wing it. You just can't. You've got to be prepared. And one of the best ways to become prepared is to get yourself somebody to train you. And I hear this all the time with people saying, oh, well, my company doesn't have a training program, or I've not got the experience to do that. Well, get some, practice. If your company doesn't offer you a training program, then get up and find yourself a training program. There is so much free content out there that you can get hold of that can make you a great salesperson. And when you have earned enough money, then get yourself a coach, a mentor to take you to the next level. I always say to people, hit YouTube.
That's what I was just going to say. Just learn how to search in YouTube. YouTube is a great place to start. For any training.
For any training, just hit YouTube, hit Facebook. There's so many free courses out there that you can do to get you to a place where actually you start making a difference. You're making some money, and then it's time to get yourself a coach and a mentor once you're stable, once you've got some money coming in, because then that coach, that mentor will take you to the next level. They will provide you with the training to get to the next level and get you to succeed in sales, so that you are constantly going up the ladder, making more and more money. And that's what it's all about, And for me, sales is about serving. Sales is all about serving. What am I giving to my clients? What am I providing to my client? Is what I have to offer what they need? What actually is going to add value to their life? And one of the ways to make sure that you are in that place is quite simply, you have to believe in what you're selling. If you don't believe in what you're selling, then ultimately you're never going to come across authentic and real.
That's right. Yeah, I've got a Wolf of Wales feature on my podcast, which is a sales training feature. And my first episode of sales training, because I think it's the most important lesson I learned in sales, and I learned it in my mid-20s. I probably learned it a bit before that, but I definitely crystallized it in my mid-20s, and I've been doing it ever since. And that's my first episode was, if you want to be good at sales, stop selling. And learn to provide solutions to problems. So start listening, start asking questions, start finding out about people and finding out how you can help them. And ultimately, if you can get to that point of your sales life, then you're offering real value, and you won't struggle to sell because people will want to buy from you.
Love it. I think what's happened is, if you think back to all the great movies, Wolf of Wall Street, The Boiler Room, the same tagline comes out in these films, always be selling. And the really sad thing about it is that salespeople have gotten off on this for years. Really gone off on this for years. Selling in the 60s, which is what these films tend to be based on. Selling on the 60s is very different to selling in the 21st century. It's so different.
The days of manipulation selling and sly selling, if you like. I never took part in any of that, because to me, you've got to be moralistic and have values and stick to them and be true to them. which is why I've only ever worked for companies. I've actually been successful at most of the jobs I've ever done. And I say most because I have actually taken some jobs on and I didn't believe in their product and I couldn't sell it. Because that, again, the most important sale I always say to somebody is the first one they make to themselves on actually what they're selling. Is it going to be offering value? Is it going to be, of benefit to people? And are you going to be enthusiastic enough to push it? And if the answers are no to all those things, you've got to change your job or do something else with your life because you can't sell something you don't believe in.
Yeah, totally. If you remember Ben Affleck in The Boiler Room, he had like a total scene that was all about always be selling. And there was all these bunch of lads, that ego-driven lads that were going, oh, we're going to make the best, the next sale, we're going to make a big buck. But the thing is, buyers of today, they're smarter. They know what they want, and when you come to the table now, you've got to be prepared to solve a problem that they're currently having. You've got to come prepared to help them achieve their goals. And if you're not prepared to help them achieve their goals, then you're not going to make the sale. And if you become authentic and real, and you come to a sales meeting knowing that you're only there to serve that person, you're only there to help that person make their dreams come true, their goals come true, then the sale is not a sale. It's a conversation where that person really wants you. They want to have your product, they want to have your service, because it's a conversation that is so inspiring to them. They so see it as a no-brainer.
Yeah,
working with you as a complete no-brainer.
Yeah, that's right. It's about presenting a case that is guaranteed to win because it's the right case for the right person at the right time. And those manipulative salespeople who think they're clever and think they can get their wool over their eyes, they're so thick because what they don't realize is it's easy to get the wool over someone's eyes. It's easy to bamboozle someone into something they don't want, but actually it's going to work once and it won't work again. And actually, if you give someone something they want, then they'll come back for you for more and more and more. So they think they're so clever, bamboozling someone, but they're so thick because they're having to keep working hard on bamboozling people forever, when all they had to do is give someone something they wanted and actually see how that grows. People start sending you to clients and start, calling you rather than you having to chase them all the time, and life becomes much easier. So these smart sales guys are as thick as two short planks all the time.
Oh, they are, but the thing is you have people that have been, that are still training these methods to people. And that's part of the problem, because then you have people that say, well, that's how I was trained. There is another way of selling, and it's a much easier way of selling. And once you know the skills that is required for that, it becomes so easy. The job is just taken away. It's such a lovely. I love every sales call I'm on, because I learn so much about the person I'm talking to, and I feel so uplifted by talking to them because I genuinely know I can help them. Yeah. And it's just such a lovely experience. And because they feel that vibe, they feel that, the pride I have in what I do, they literally thrive off it. They buy from that. And that's where salespeople need to get to. That's where salespeople are missing a trick. And I do feel really sorry for those salespeople that are young and they're going into maybe a smaller call center, and the sales trainer is still training these old techniques, and it's not their fault. It's just the way that they've been trained. And when people like that contact me, I always say to them, hit YouTube, learn some techniques, and you'll learn so much from that. Or you have my services, and 9 times out of 10 they'll want to work with me. So it's a no-brainer really to have those skills of selling that we both have, because it just makes the sales process so nice, so relaxed, so free. It's It is. It's much nicer to go down that route. God, Mike, me and you could talk about selling all day long.
Yeah, we could. I love it. I'm a passion. I talk on my blog, on my podcast about networking, marketing, sales, social media, and entrepreneurship. So they're my 5 topics that I can. I'm doing about 10 episodes a day. So I'm confident I got enough content to last. I've got 30 years of content on most of that. So yeah, I'm not going to run out. I just got to keep drilling in my brain different seams that I know is going to bring something out. And one of those themes actually I haven't covered on my podcast, but I'm trying to always get out what I know. And because I haven't done telesales for such a long time now, I've been mostly doing solution sales and more field sales. What I remember from the telesales days, what I really hate about the bad telesales people who contact me, you mentioned it earlier, is when people getting the script right now. Well, I actually don't like a script. And when I used to teach my telesales team before I turned them into field salespeople, I used to teach them component parts of a pitch,
Yeah.
which they need to put into a natural conversation of their own that they're comfortable with, because to me, that would be more natural and get them to feel more comfortable in what they were saying. But it also would sound more natural to the other side and want to get them to listen because it was a conversation rather than an automated bot, reading out the same thing that everyone else is reading. So I used to cover, right, these are sort of important parts that you need to get in, but you get them in when and where you want and how you want, as long as the story has a nice flow and it's working, then that's going to be the best option for you. That's what I used to teach. So
no, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's sounds quite similar to the way that I teach. I teach components, and from the components, then it's all about the process. So building the rapport, doing a needs assessment, going through the sales process in a systematic way. However, you're turning it into a conversation. It's a conversation piece. And one of the things that I teach is having a story to back an objective. So there is, and that's probably that's a unique way of selling, because most people have an answer for it. What I do is I have a story for it. So for every sales call that I'm on, the objections that they will have, there will be a story attached to it. So it may be the experience of somebody that's worked with me, the success story of somebody else. It doesn't necessarily have to be about me as a person, but it's what value this has brought to someone else. And that's the way to handle objections. And we all know
we're so similar, because so I love metaphors. So I use other descriptions of language and words that people get better to describe what I'm getting at. Yeah. So for example, I do SEO, which is search engine optimization. Yeah. And so, for example, the way I describe that to most people, especially males, is I will turn around and say, well, it's a bit like, the football league system. At the moment, your team is in the Vauxhall Conference and nobody knows about it. But you want to get into the Premier League. But what you got to do is you got to work hard, spending money and investing in the team and the squad and the training facilities in order to get promoted. And then you can compete with the people you're on then, and you keep investing in your team and your training facilities and your staff, etc. And you keep getting promoted. And eventually you're in the Premier League. And then you spent a lot of money to get to the Premier League, but you're still not winning anything. And then actually you've got to really start investing to compete with the Man Cities and the Liverpools and the Chelseas and the Arsenals and the Man Uniteds of the world before you actually start making some money. So that is a bit like the journey in SEO. So when people are like, like what's it involved or what's it going to cost or how long is it going to take, I'm going to say, well, it depends how competitive your keywords are and your product is and your sector is on how many divisions you've got to try and get promoted up to first, even just before you're in the game, even before you're in the league and actually able to play against some of the big boys. So again, that's the sort of way I've always tried to explain things to people in sort of metaphors and stories and putting it in a language that they understand.
I love it. I love it. It's exactly, that makes sales a nicer experience, I think, because people really buy into people. And we all know that people buy from people they know and they trust, and they buy from the feelings that, their thoughts and feelings. And, when you can really talk to somebody and be empathetic to whatever it is that they're going through, that requires them to potentially, to look at you as a person, or look at your product, or look at your service, that, it's important that you are, you're able to use those soft skills through stories to really press those buttons. You're pressing those soft buttons to get them to where it's almost massaging the whole conversation to influence them to make the choice of using you or buying your product. And that's what I love. I love sales. I love everything there is about sales, and that is the reason why I don't shy away from using the word sales coach. Because a lot of people have a bit of a stigma against it, and they'll say, that it's they work on the performance,
business development.
There's a stigma around it. Well, I don't have that stigma. I believe in sales. I believe in who I am. I believe that I can offer a fantastic service, and my skill is sales. So I'm going to call myself a sales coach, and that is exactly what I am. I'm a sales coach, mentor, and trainer, and I own.
I used to be a sales and marketing consultant, trainer, and service provider, but I pivoted during lockdown really to being more a sales and marketing and business growth mentor and coach, and speaker and podcaster and all those sort of things, because that's the pivot that I've done to get me to the global speaking position that I'm gonna take, for myself at some point, But yeah, I've always put sales in my title because that's what I do. It's what I do. It's what I've always done. It's what I'm good at, and it's actually what most people need as well. So all these companies and all these businesses that call their salespeople whatever they call them, get real, get back on track. They're salespeople. Don't shy away from it, And then when they actually ask for the sale or the order at the end of the call, the person will be expecting it because they know they're a salesperson.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we could talk for Great Britain on this. We really could. It's a conversation close to both of our hearts, clearly, and we're loud and proud about being a salespeople, and that is fantastic, and I love it. And I'm so pleased that you're in the mastermind group as well, so we can, we'll be there on the cruise ship together. Woo woo! We'll have lots to talk about. So I'm super pleased.
Yeah, brilliant. And I've been working heavily for the last 8-9 years in marketing as well, because a key strength of entrepreneurs especially, but also good salespeople, is that ability to add the marketing mix in as well these days, with technology being so prevalent and so readily there for people to engage with and use. That's the other, that's what I spent a long time learning. And actually, I stopped doing as much in sales as I used to do and could have done, because I wanted to grow the marketing side of my business in the last 8-9 years much more. So it aligned itself at a level of knowledge and experience along with the sales. Because as a salesperson for, say, 20 years, I didn't do that much marketing, although I did telemarketing and I did exhibitions and stands and all of that. I wanted to really add that marketing bit on. And so I, as well as being a sales and marketing consultancy agency, I started my own digital marketing agency as well. And so that's a really interesting area to sort of learn on as well. And there's a lot of key people. You mentioned, obviously, Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone does both sales and marketing. So I've actually been using Grant Cardone as a mentor since 2017 of mine. Not because there's that much I can learn from him, actually, because I haven't learned too much from him. But he talks the same language that I talk to myself, but he says it to me in a different voice, which is great, because, Grant Cardone's been in sales for, I think 35 years, something like that. He started at 25 and he's 60. And I started at 11 and I'm 42. So I've been doing it about 31 years as well. So I actually would say in some things, I know more about sales than Grant Cardone, and I'll put that out there to anyone. And that's the reason I would say that is not, Grant Cardone is a car salesperson and a great car salesperson, and he has his American way of doing it, which is very in your face. I would say I probably know a little bit more about the technical, softer solution side of selling than Grant does, because I have a different style and a different way of doing it.
Totally agree. That's the same as me. When I signed up to the Grant Cardone mentorship program, it was simply because it's a way of reinforcing that I am on the right track. So I signed up. I don't know what you signed up to, but I signed up to the mentorship program, which is basically where he will email you every Monday. Yeah. So when I signed up, I had to complete a DISC assessment and a marketing assessment and loads of different assessments. And then they gave me a report back to say, these are the things that I needed to work on. So obviously you get the university as part of the package, but then it's a weekly message that comes through. It's like an email that comes through, and it keeps you on track. So it keeps me totally focused on exactly what my goals are, what I agreed to do, over a year ago, what were the goals that I set myself last year, and have I achieved them? And that was the mentorship side that I signed up to, because I do find, as you say, his language, although it's quite abrupt and, and he can be quite straight to the point, that is what I love about him. Yeah. Because I like people to be straight up and honest with me, and I like people to be direct with me.
I like that as well. I like Grant Cardone. I've actually met him and Elaine and the kids and whatever, and I like Grant Cardone. It's just his style, it wouldn't necessarily work the same way in the corporate world in the UK, for example. You've got to be a bit more nuanced, a bit more sort of thoughtful in your approach in the UK marketplace. Yeah. But I as a person, I think he's awesome, and I love the energy side and all of that. Yeah. I'm high energy myself. I'm more American than British as a person, but I've operated in the corporate British environment where I've had to be more subtle, more sophisticated, more intellectual, because that's what the 10 million plus turnover corporate world expects. And so you've got to be able to, one of the...
That's what the UK market expects. Yeah. UK, you can't sell the same way as Grant Cardone. His style would not work in the UK. It wouldn't.
No, he'd upset. It would work to some people, but he would upset quite a lot as well.
It would upset more people than it would work on. Let's face it. It wouldn't work on the majority. And I would agree with you that I think that we both know more about sales than Grant Cardone in terms of how it would work in the UK and how to sell to more corporate clients, because that's what I do. I'm a global sales executive. Well, I was a global sales executive, so I sold to everyone throughout the world. And I've worked with some of the huge companies, Dunlop Aircraft Tyres, Weetabix, massive companies. And the way that you sell to these companies is totally different to the way Grant teaches. But Grant is a great mentor for keeping people on track. And although, I don't particularly use his sales methods, I like his marketing strategies. I like the way that he talks. I like his energy. And he is a great person to actually feed from. He is a great person to feed from. And I cannot wait to meet the guy. I'm so jealous that you have met Grant Cardone. I want to give him a big cuddle and thank him for, keeping me on track. Because thanks to having a mentor, and this is what I say to my clients as well, having a mentor, their job is to keep you on track. Their job is to help you achieve your goals. That's why you sign up to these people. And I think that, you and me, we've got the same sort of mindset in terms of how we feel the process should go, how you should speak to people, how you should make people feel. And, you know, I think that both of us have a lot to offer. And, you know, with your mission to speak to the world, and, you know, I totally support you with that, because, you know, I think that it is a fantastic skill to have, you know, being able to stand up and talk to thousands and thousands of people. It's not an easy thing to do by any means, you know, but, you know, when you do get that opportunity to stand up and speak in front of those people, you know, I'll definitely be there, because it's, you know, it'll be a huge step in your career, in your, what's in it for you, what you want, how you see your life to be.
That's why, so I haven't actually paid Grant Cardone to be a mentor. I just listen to his content and observe him. So I've actually watched most of his YouTube content, and there's a lot.
Oh, right.
And there's a lot, yeah. So I actually use him as a mentor, because I'm not interested in the sales training and all of that he does. In fact, I did sign up to a freebie of his Grant Cardone University and never actually got around to using it, which is how much of an incentive I was. You know, I wasn't that keen to. I wanted to have a look at it, but I wasn't that bothered. You know, what I use him as a mentor for is the whole showbiz, the whole razzmatazz, the whole speaking, you know, all that side of things. That he's living the life that I want to be living. Like, you know, he's 20 years older than me, and in 20 years time, or 10, I want to be doing the same things, like, you know. And also I am interested in a bit of property and that sort of thing as well. So, you know, obviously, you know, sales, I would say I probably know as much as him, if not more, in certain areas to do with corporate sales and solution sales and whatever. You know, he probably knows more about sales training than me, but I've done sales training since I was 18 as well. So, you know, I can spar in that area as well with him when it comes to property, speaking, you know, things like that. He's like years ahead, like, you know. So it's about, you know, leveling up, if you like, in the areas. You know, I listen to, like, Brian Tracy's another one, Don DiMartini. You know, those three are the three I really listen to the most. Also, I listen to a bit of Robert Kiyosaki for property as well, and Kevin Green. But yeah, Brian Tracy, again, he's an out-and-out sales guy, sales manager. But, you know, I listen to him, and he talks about his career. It's very similar to mine. You know, he's just done the bit that I want to do in the next 30 years. He's done it. Yeah. So you know, a lot of people look up to him and think, oh, they're like amazing people that you can never get to. But once you've been a successful salesperson and a successful sales manager, wherever, you realize that they're not amazing people that you can never get to. They're just fantastic people who've carried on the process. And if you actually carry the process, you'll get there too. You know, and that's ultimately, that's what success can teach you, is that once you have a level of success, you understand that there's a system to it and there's a knowledge level to it. And once you apply that system and that knowledge level, you can get the same success. And so it's not unobtainable. It's just a system and a process and a gaining of some knowledge.
Yeah. Totally. I absolutely agree with everything that you've just said. You know, it's for me, it makes total sense, but to some people, they would struggle to understand, you know, how are we doing it. And I think it's great that we both are offering our services to help people get to where we are, while we're trying to get to where Brian Tracy is, and, you know, where Grant Cardone is. So we're ahead of the game, but we want to bring people up as well with us. And you know, it's such an amazing experience. You know, I'm totally, you know, in my aura at the moment. You know, I've gone through so much over the last, you know, few years, and I'm here now, and I just feel like it's, you know, it's meant to be. You know, it's meant to be.
Sales training is like that saying, you know, give a man a fish and he'll eat for dinner. Yeah, teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. Yeah, sales training is that. That's the metaphor for sales training. You know, give an entrepreneur a deal and he'll do well for a short period of time, that month, you know, that cash flow, that bit of profit margin, whatever. Teach an entrepreneur how to sell, teach his team how to sell, and that business is basically going to grow forever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that metaphor. I love that because it's so true. And you know, the more people that we can help to get them to where they need to be, you know, where they see themselves, what's their goals, how, you know, working with them to get them there, you know, they will have such success that they will be able to live the life of their dreams, and they will be able to have all the things that they want in their life because they've had the training to get them there. And that's the most important. People need to realise that they have to invest in themselves to get what they want out of life. You just have to, you know, you have to have that training.
Yeah, something which I've done a few times when I've done a talk to a room full of entrepreneurs or whatever, is I've asked them how many, to put their hands up, how many of them are involved in sales. And you usually get 30, 40% of the room might put their hands up. And that's in a room full of entrepreneurs. They're usually ex-salespeople anyway, or current salespeople. But then I always say, well, how many of you are looking for new customers? And they'll all put their hand up. And I go, well, you're all in sales then. You know what I mean? Whether you actually class yourself as a salesperson or not, everyone is a salesperson to a smaller or to a bigger degree, and everyone is out there selling themselves and trying to get promotion and trying to get better opportunities and trying to get partners and all the things that sales skills can help you achieve. So, not only is good sales skills good for salespeople and for business owners and for sales managers, but everybody needs to improve their sales ability, to be able to offer value to people and provide solutions to problems.
Yeah, I asked that question, same question you asked, and I get the same result that you do. And it's remarkable how many entrepreneurs, how many business owners don't see themselves as salespeople, because they are. And like you say, everybody's selling. I'm trying to sell to my son to get him out of bed.
Exactly. It's all a negotiation.
It's all about negotiation. Sales is negotiation. When you want to buy a house, you are selling because you are in negotiation on the price. When you are, trying to, buy a house, you're negotiating on the price. When you buy a car, you negotiate. When you're trying to get a husband or partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever it is, you're selling yourself. But people don't see the connection. They don't see the connection to what they're doing. They don't realise that sales is actually just negotiation, and that is it really. But I think that so many people need sales training just for themselves, like you say, just for being a better person. If you're looking for a partner, get some sales skills so you can go out and find yourself a partner, because you need to work on selling yourself.
Yeah, it's like those people who randomly put terrible things on social media, and I'm like, well, they with a bit of sales training would tell them not to put that sort of stuff on social media. You know what I mean? Why are you going to put something so negative about yourself, which may impact other people's perception of you or opinion of you? It's a bit like there's lots of incidences where a bit of hindsight, if you like, or foresight, and a bit of knowledge may help them to make better decisions. Like there are kids who, applying for jobs, for example, and they got, nicknames in their email address. Any decent sales knowledge or sales skills or ability or course or teachings would teach you that that's just not professional. So why would you do it? Why is somebody going to give a job to, Snuggles 52? At hotmail.com or something.
Yeah, funny enough that you mentioned that. I recently partnered up with a lady that she's a recruiter, and when she gets these young people come in, what she's now doing is sending them to me to give them some sales training on how to sell themselves. And that has been really successful, because you get so many young people coming out of university or coming out of school, and they're going for these jobs, and then they're wondering, well, why didn't they get it? And part of the problem is because they didn't know how to sell themselves. And so I've done a lot of work, as I say, with this recruiter. So when they're coming in and they're saying, look, I've got this person, they've just come out of uni, can you help them along? It helps the recruiter, because they're getting paid for finding a great employee, but it also helps that individual because they're getting a job that they really want. So, you know, that's something that's sort of my added value. I'm helping two people here achieve their goals. And I love that. I absolutely love that. And you do have a lot of people that just don't have the skills to be able to sell themselves. And they don't realise that, you know, we are a walking brand. All of us are. We're walking brands. And every time we post something, every time we make a comment on something, you know, that says a lot about who you are as a person. And when you're putting, you know, posts on that, you know, put you in a bad light, you know, a bit of sales training, as you quite rightly said, would stop that person from making those choices, and they'd make better choices and be seen as a much higher quality person that people would want to talk to.
Well, that's, you know, that's a lot of the basic sales training that I have, you know, from sales. It applies itself to social media as well, because again, you know, there are companies out there and there are people out there, for example, they put their profiles up and then they don't touch it, you know, and then, you know, what does that, you know, what's the message that you're giving to people? Is that I'm not bothered, you know, I'm not bothered with update. Again, website, I do a lot with websites. You know, how many people, you know, they have a website built, they don't change it for 5, 10, 15 years. And it's like, well, what are they trying to say to their customers? I'm not bothered, you know, there's nothing going on in my business to tell you about. You know, I don't need to update my LinkedIn because there's nothing in my life that has improved or got better in the last 10 years since I last did it. Like, you know what I mean? I set up an account on social media and I don't bother posting on it because I got nothing going on in my life or in my business. You know, people don't understand. It's the same messages. It's the same sales approach. And if you're not upskilling and you're not telling people, you know, anything good and offering them the solutions that they need and the solutions that you can now offer, it's a bit like some people doing their email marketing, you know, what they were sending out prior to lockdown, but the same stuff during lockdown. And it's like, well, it's like as if like you haven't noticed the whole world has changed and you're still saying the same message. It's like, you know, you can't say the same message. The world's not the same place. The people aren't the same people. You know, everything's changed.
I'm going to have to wrap this up now, if that's all right, Mike.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Because I've got another call that I've got to get on and prepare for 3 o'clock. But I've absolutely loved this. We should do this again. This was awesome. Really enjoyed the session with you.
Brilliant. How do people get in touch with you if they want to connect with you?
Okay, so they can connect with me at join the sales circle at gmail.com, or they can find me at the sales circle on Facebook. My website is being launched. It's thesalescircle.co.uk, but that hasn't gone live yet. That'll be going live next week. So they can connect with me through those on Facebook, Instagram, again, the sales circle. You can find me there. And
I guess you're on LinkedIn as well.
Oh yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn as well. Toni Clarkstone. The sales circle.
yeah, great. And I can't remember. Have I invited you to the link to the Intrabiz WhatsApp group for the LinkedIn pod group?
No, I haven't had that. So if I can have that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I invited as many people as I could, but obviously with WhatsApp, you've got to have their phone number in order to invite people. So, so if you can send me your phone number on LinkedIn, then I can add you to the group then in the WhatsApp. And how that works is then we all post at 9 o'clock in the morning every day, and then everyone grabs the link for the URL of their post and sticks it in the WhatsApp group. So everyone else can go on and read their post and like it and comment.
Yeah.
And that creates good traction then for the post to go viral.
That's wonderful. I love it. Absolutely love it. I love all these little ideas that you've come up with on social media and just being able to engage people. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's all about engagement, like you said, not just posting or what. So many posting's better than not playing the game. But so many people just actually sit on the subfence watching and actually don't take part in the game. And I'm like, well, you know, don't just sit there watching the game. Get on the pitch.
Yeah, I do have a private group, which is at the Sales Circle. So I'll invite you to that. It's a private group for business owners and sales professionals that have got the goal of developing their skills and ultimately having the goal of selling more. So I'll invite you to that group.
Brilliant. And if you've got any sales messages, marketing messages that you want to go a little bit further, tag me in. I'll happily share it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, I appreciate that. I did free sales training course yesterday at 4 o'clock. I'm also
I did
doing
see
another...
it was mostly women on there. I seen from Facebook, I think.
Yeah, it was not. There was loads of women, but there was lots of people that said that they couldn't attend. So I've basically recorded it and sent that on to them. But I'm doing it again next week, and I'm hoping to see a few more men on the course. So yeah, 4 o'clock next week. If you would like to attend, just send me a message on Facebook and I'll send you the Zoom invite.
Okay, good. 4 o'clock, what day? Monday?
Monday, UK time. Yeah, 4 o'clock Monday, UK time.
I'll see if I can get on. I think 4 o'clock is a good time for me on a Monday, I think. Well, depends if I got any podcast or Zoom calls booked, which I'll have to look at first. But if not, if I can make it, I'll give you a bit of male company support, so that it's just not all females.
There were so many women on it, and there's no men. I was like, oh, okay. But to be fair, it partly was because a lot of people have connected with me and my story from the
and also because of iWow as well, isn't it? iWow, which is all women anyway, like, you know.
Women, yeah. So they've connected with me on my story. So there was a lot of women there that had gone through similar adversities to myself, and they had a connection and wanted to join the sales course because of the connection that they had with me. And I was so pleased because yesterday, one of the ladies from yesterday signed up on my coaching course. So I was really chuffed with that because I didn't actually sell my coaching course on it. She called me afterwards. Yeah. So
that's always good.
So I'm really pleased with that. So it went well. So again, next week, 4 o'clock UK time, Monday. And yeah, I'd love to see you and everyone else there.
Brilliant. All right, then. Well, have a great day. Have a good meeting at 3 o'clock, and I'll catch up with you again sometime soon.
Right, take care. Bye.
Right, and there's nothing else left for me to say other than have a great day. I know I will. And thanks very much for listening. Cheers. Bye.